What do you do when your mascot platformer franchise starts taking off and you're sick of doing the same thing over and over again? Why, you make a spin-off, of course. Spin-offs are a convenient excuse to do something different, maybe explore new markets, while still having a nice marketable face that's sure to sell millions of your product trademark copyright. That was probably the thought process behind Naughty Dog's first non-platforming game since the original Crash Bandicoot back in '96. They had been doing this pretty much non-stop for 3 years now. Really, it's kind of impressive how they managed to churn out these games on a yearly basis back in the late 90s, so you can probably imagine they would be sick of it at this point. But what kind of game to make then? A crappy party game? Nah. Enter the kart racer. This is a genre that is basically entirely composed of spin-off games. Mario Kart, Sonic and Sega All-Stars Racing, M&M's Kart Racing, Garfield Kart. Of course, back then it was basically just Mario Kart, so it might be that Crash Team Racing contributed to this being the case. Speaking of which, for any autoplay zombies that may have been airdropped here by their machine overlords, CTR is what this video is about. Crash Team Racing. I never got the team part, but whatever. This game is kind of a big deal. It's not uncommon to hear this being described as the pinnacle of the genre. People like this game a lot. If Mario Kart is a McDonald's burger, CTR is a nice beef Wellington, or whatever the go-to example of fancy food is. I have the taste buds of a 7-year-old, I'm not cut out for food analogies. The point is, this game goes above and beyond. It's the furthest you can get from a cynical cash grab spin-off. It's remembered about as well as the original platforming Crash games, and is considered a core part of the Crash Golden Age. It is also the final Crash game Naughty Dog worked on, so that might be part of it. I played the shit out of this as a kid. I'm not, nor have I ever been, a big racing game guy. I never cared much for the likes of Mario Kart or for real racing games either, for that matter. At most, I'll fire up Forza Horizon every once in a while and drive around expensive Japanese cars I can't afford and not join any races. But CTR was more than a racing game. It was a Crash game, and I loved Crash. Of course, as a kid, all I ever did was hold down X, try not to drive off the track and hope for good items to carry me through races. As a grown-ass man, I can now at least pretend to know what I'm doing and slide around and shit. CTR got a remake for the PS4 and Xbox One in 2019, and they never ported it to PC, the fuckers. Regardless, we'll be going through the PS1 original. I haven't played much of the remake, but it's pretty well liked and has a ridiculous amount of content. I just don't think it's as relevant as the original to understand the circumstances of the Crash franchise in the late 90s, and the rise and fall of Naughty Dog, which is, by the way, what I've been interested in uncovering for the past few months with my series on Crash Bandicoot, and my series on Naughty Dog's Jack trilogy. Maybe go check those out after you're done here, but for now, consider liking and subscribing if you haven't already, and comment on my anime girl PNG's new hairstyle. Do you like it? Well, on with the video. Crash Team Racing has an adventure mode, which is what we'll be focusing on. It goes through all tracks and some extra content, so it works out. The story itself is nothing amazing, and the intro cutscene is hidden away in the demo function for some reason, as was the case with Crash 1. I have no idea why they don't just play it when we start a new game, but whatever. Basically, Nitrous Oxide is an alien obsessed with racing. He's our villain this time around. He starts a tournament to find out who's the fastest fucking kart racer on Earth, so that he can test his skills. If no one can beat him, he'll turn the planet into a parking lot. It's like a racing-obsessed Saiyan. It's very stupid, but funny. It works. You don't really need much more than this. He also sounds really intimidating. The voice acting is good.
So you pesky earth slugs like to race, eh? Well, Nitrous Oxide, I'm the fastest racer in the galaxy.
The cutscenes then show the main cast working on their karts. The whole thing screams personality. This game is the anti-Crash Bash. Everything, simple as it may be, feels like it was made with care and thought. There are 8 characters we can choose from for the adventure mode. 4 good characters: Crash, Coco and their mounts from Crash 2 and 3, Polar the polar bear, and Pura the tiger. They were really stretching it here, but it's better than going, oh, Tiny and Dingodile are good now because I say so, like Eurocom did in Bash. And 4 evil characters: Cortex, Engine, Tiny, and Dingodile. The only difference is good characters are assisted by Aku Aku throughout the story, and evil ones by Uka Uka. The characters themselves have different stats in speed, acceleration, and maneuverability, and these do come into play. For optimal play, you usually want speed characters. I'm not going for optimal play, I suck at the game, but I'm obviously going for Dingodile anyway because he's clearly the best Crash character. So one thing I always found really cool is that this game features there's an open hub world we can drive around in. There aren't any secrets or anything, but this is the first time a Crash game has presented a level selection like this. It doubles as a castle courtyard in the tradition of Mario 64, where we can familiarize ourselves with the controls and physics, which makes a lot of sense in a racing game. I mean, when you're playing a platformer, you can always take your time and fuck around with the controls at the start, but with a racing game, you want to at least know how to move properly as soon as the race starts. There are multiple areas for this hub world, most of them containing 4 tracks we have to beat before being able to challenge a boss and move on to the next. There are a few optional challenges too, but we'll get back to those later. The hub world sort of follows the theme of the tracks it contains too, which I always appreciate. The first level's portal is on the beach and takes us to Crash's course, Crash Cove, an island-themed track. Counterintuitively, Crash Cove is not the most basic track in the game, but in a way I think it works well as an introduction. It's not like you're forced to play it first either. There's another track available from the start in story mode, and you can go play free races anyway, but it is what's right in front of us when we first get to the hub world. It's not a difficult track by any means, there are no tight turns or pits to fall in, but it has a few side areas that can be accessed with more advanced movements, such as this shipwreck off to the side. There's not much reason to visit it for now, but you can in fact go there, and that should teach any new players that tracks in CTR are more than just flat lines of asphalt you have to follow. The level also introduces ramps and boost pads that do what you would expect. It's a fun stage to go through regardless of skill level. If you're just starting out, by the time you're done you'll know the basics of holding X to go forward, trying to hit the boost pads, and breaking crates in hope of scoring an overpowered item to help you get to the finish line before everyone else, even if you suck absolute balls. Finishing first grants as a trophy, and getting one of these for each track is our main objective. Roost Tubes takes place underwater in a series of, well, tubes. It's a level with a lot of height variation, showing once again how CTR is not about keeping to flat roads. There are a few ways in which we can get a boost in this game. One of them is landing after some airtime, so timing jumps with R1 to the peaks of the terrain can be a good way to get some extra speed here. It's a short and simple track otherwise. There's this off-track shortcut at the very end that loses more time than it saves if you don't know what you're doing, but I always felt like a genius for using it as a kid. Next up is Mystery Caves, and I'm not much of a fan of this one. It's easily the most complex track so far, not that we've had many. It features a fork on the road, stage hazards in the form of fireballs shooting out of the pits behind these ramps, and water puddles that really kill our momentum. We're supposed to use the turtles to bounce over them, but they keep hiding just as I get to them. It's not easy to choose the right one, especially if you're trying to keep the slides going. Then again, the way I'm playing at this point, I might as well just hold X and go through the track like a baby. It doesn't help that the stage looks kinda drab. It's just, well, caves. That are apparently mysterious, though I couldn't tell you why. There are some tribal statues sprinkled around the track, but they don't really stand out. I wasn't even sure they were there before rewatching the footage. It's not like it's straight up bad, it's just not very memorable, and most tracks in this game are really good, so it doesn't compare all that well. Since there's not much to this track, I might as well take this opportunity to talk about items. This mechanic is lifted straight out of Mario Kart. See a crate, break it, get an item that ensures little Timmy can still have a chance to win. There are potions that slow down other racers if they drive into them, TNT and nitro crates that explode in the same situation, bombs that can be thrown in a straight line and are really satisfying to hit somebody with, and homing missiles that pretty much guarantee we'll be able to overtake whoever's in front of us. These are the basic ones. There's also a turbo boost, a clock that slows everyone else down, an electric orb that damages whoever's in first place, a shield to protect from other items, and a mask, either Aku Aku or Uka Uka, which grants us a speed boost and damages anyone we make contact with. The further behind we are, the higher our chances at getting good items. Tracks also contain bounce crates from the platforming games. These give us Wampa Fruit, which grant a slight increase in speed when we have 10 of them, and also make items more powerful. Items are really strong and can either win a race for us or completely screw us over with no warning, which totally doesn't piss me off because I'm an adult and I know this is just a meaningless 27-year-old game for children. Anyway, here's my top 5 times I got completely fucked over by item RNG and totally didn't scream slurs and profanities at the screen. Hope you found that enlightening. Now this next one is pretty cool, Sewer Speedway. It's based on the sewer levels from Crash 2 and it really captures the idea quite well. It's also a natural fit for a kart racer. You see, sewers have pipes. Cut those in half and you got, wait for it, a half pipe. Who doesn't like half pipes? They're inherently fun. It's basic as conservation of momentum. Just fucking around with these in games is fun. And if you have an excuse to use their properties for speed, they become even more interesting. The stage is also very multi-layered and complex, but the areas are large and open enough so we don't have to worry about bonking walls even if we're shit at the game. It's just fun to drive around this place. Visually it's not the most appealing, I mean it's a sewer, but the track design is just great. Love the subtitles. Ripper Roo is one of the coolest Crash characters, I really like him, so anyway, yeah, CTR has boss fights, which is cool. Unfortunately, they're not all that interesting. The idea is that they're also trying to prove themselves in order to challenge Oxide. They each take place in a track we've already been through by the time we race them, and the only extra gimmick is that they each specialize in a type of item which they'll litter the track with. In a way, they're usually easier than the regular races, if only for the fact that they won't use the actually annoying items like the missile. And once we take the lead, the race is pretty much over. Roo uses TNT crates and the race takes place in Roo's tubes. Oh, so that's why they call him that. Anyway, it's a very basic track with not a lot of room for fucking up, so it ends up being pretty easy. We get this key from beating the boss, and now we can move on to the next area. Interestingly, there isn't much to do in this one. It's actually the final area where we can access Oxide's race after we get 4 keys from 4 bosses. The entrances to a few unlockable tracks are also here, but we'll get back to these later. For now, what we're supposed to do is go straight through this place and into the actual second hub area, the ruins. By the way, what exactly is the hub world supposed to be? I mean, I do think it's cool and all that, but how does it work in the context of the narrative? Why are we in a theme park with a bunch of portals to racetracks around the world? Crash 2 and 3 at least try to contextualize their glorified level selection screens. This is not a deal breaker or anything, but I would have appreciated an explanation. Well, whatever. I said before that Crash Cove wasn't the most basic Mario Circuit analog track in the game. Coco Park is. No stage hazards, no pits, not much in the way of side areas. The stage for the one female character in the game. What was Naughty Dog trying to tell us? I do find the placement of this track in the second area weird at face value, but honestly it ends up being a welcome break as the stages get gradually more complex. No idea if that was intentional, but it works. Then we have Purah's stage, Tiger Temple, and this is one of my favorites. It's based on the temple levels from Crash 2 and the dark, muddy, rainy aesthetic really appeals to me. But more importantly, it has this really cool hidden shortcut that can only be accessed by throwing an item at its entrance. And discovering this as a kid was an amazing feeling. The terrain is really bumpy and these corridors with the flame-throwing statues incentivize holding X and going on a straight line, which is not the most exciting thing, but there are cool set pieces regardless. The track is pretty short but very memorable. Dingo Canyon, however, is not. The only notable thing about this level to me is the fact that it's Dingodile's track and Dingodile's cool. It's unremarkable in terms of both its layout and visuals. It took me a while to understand what these things rolling around as stage hazards were supposed to be. They're the armadillos from Crash 2. They just look like blue energy balls or something here, really. And the only reason why I assumed they weren't is because that wouldn't make any sense in this context. There, I spent more time talking about this random stage hazard than the track itself. It's really that boring. Finally, Papu Pyramid. One of the toughest tracks in the game. One of the most interesting too if you get good enough. And it does require a pretty good understanding of the game to get through it without relying on item luck. Well, might as well talk about this. Basically, I feel like items are too overpowered in this game. I'm not a fan of luck-based mechanics in general in games. I'm one of those guys who immediately turns off all items when I play Smash Brothers, so bear in mind that I have a distaste for this mechanic right from the get-go. The problem here is I feel like CTR, at least as far as the single player experience goes, has a very low skill floor, and takes too long to start rewarding players for going beyond that. Put it simply, items are too strong, and this goes both ways. The AI has a faster base speed than we do, that is going straight while just holding the accelerate button they will be faster. This is offset by the fact that they don't use slide boosts. In CTR, when we initiate a slide by jumping, landing on our side and holding a shoulder button, this bar at the lower right corner of the screen will fill up. Pressing the opposite shoulder button when it's red will give us a small speed boost, and we can do this 3 times per slide. This is all fine and good, but the problem is that unless we're good enough to straight up lap the AI racers, none of this matters. We can be ahead by a good chunk thanks to decent usage of the slide mechanic, or way behind by just lazily holding the X button and steering, and either way, 1 or 2 item interactions can take us from first to last place and vice versa. It feels a lot more punishing than the likes of Mario Kart, for example. This isn't helped by the fact that the further behind we are, the higher the chance we'll get good items by breaking the boxes. Balancing difficulty curves is not easy. Ideally, you want to reward skill while maximizing enjoyment. It's thanks to this system that I was able to beat this game as a kid without having a clue about the slide boost. The unfortunate side effect is that I feel like it makes no difference if I'm trying to play well or not. As I said before, this eventually stops being true when we get good enough to be consistently out of the range of most items, but it feels like there's a glass ceiling that must be broken before the game can be enjoyed beyond a very basic level. There's very little difference between the performance of a beginner and a medium skilled player, and a world of difference between the medium skilled player and a highly skilled player. It feels clumsy. In a level like Papu Pyramid, where maintaining slide boosts is made very difficult by many tight corners, I end up feeling just as dependent on item luck at my current skill level as I was back when I was 7. This is a level I'll want to revisit later once I'm better at the game. While we're still here, let's take on the boss Papu Papu, since this is his track.
Papu much tired of watching puny slugs race so slow. Papu want in action to lay boom down big and prove Papu is world's best driver. Papu moves so fast, you munch drags.
His item is the potion, and he is a lot more difficult than Ripperoo, but mostly on account of the stage being a lot harder to get through. I'll let him take credit anyway. I feel bad for how pathetic he is in Crash 1. Once again, once we overtake him, the race is pretty much over. He can block missiles and bombs with the items he's shitting out, so that's something to look out for. On to the next one. The third hub world is not very interesting. The theme is snow. That's it. And in keeping with that theme, we have Blizzard Bluff, a simple but fun little track with many hills and frozen lakes and a comfy cabin. I guess this is how I'd describe it. Comfy. The way it's laid out is very good for sliding too. Look how far ahead I am. Polar Pass is yet another snow track, but I like it a lot less. I would not at all describe this one as comfy. It's full of tight turns, and there's this lake area halfway through with a bunch of ramps that I keep jumping over and falling in the water. I know it's my fault, but come on. I see a ramp, I want to jump as far as possible. Stop trying to keep me down, game. And then there are the seals. God, I fucking hate the seals. Really, if a car that's going so fast that there's fucking fire shooting out of the exhaust hit a goddamn seal, who do you think would be more likely to live unscathed? CTR seems to think it's the seal. Fucking piece of shit, I wish someone made a code out of you. I don't know, man, I feel like every time I play this track, the game does its absolute best to annoy me. And here's another one I don't really like, Tiny Arena. Despite the name, it's actually pretty long, with very tight corners, and mud everywhere that makes us go really slow. Dude, I just like the ones where I get to go fast, and this is not it. So I'm playing as Dingodile. If you recall, he's a speed character, which means his turning is pretty crap. Can you see the problem? Speed characters are generally the best, but they're not at all the easiest to play as, and stages like this with many hairpins are terrible for them. So I guess we're leaving our destinies in the hands of the almighty item box again for this one. One more stage before we're done with Hub 3, and guess what? I don't like this one either. Dragon Mines has basically all the features of a stage I don't like in this game. Tight corners, stage hazards that come out of nowhere, drab and interesting visuals. The spiral we have to go up halfway through the track is really annoying to navigate. It's just a very boring stage. I mean, it's called fucking Dragon Mines. What comes to your mind when you hear these words? A huge sleeping dragon guarding the treasure, fire everywhere? Sounds metal as fuck. Well, no, it's a cave with minecarts. I've seen more interesting mines in real life. It's like one step above RuneScape. And we get to go through it again right away because it's where the next boss race takes place.
So, you've beaten all the other racers on these tracks. Well, now you'll see why I'm the most feared driver on the circuit. I'll earn the right to face Oxide by crushing you.
His item is the TNT crate, and it's not very threatening. Missiles to the rescue. I think Papu Papu is actually harder than him. Papu Pyramid is just a much tougher and more interesting stage than Dragon Mines.
You're not so slow after all. Surprised me you did. Here's a key for the win. Still, I think you're not fast enough to outrace Oxide. We're going to lose our planet, and it will all be your fault.
The fourth hub is the castle and I like it a lot. I remember getting here as a kid and thinking it was the coolest shit ever. Some of the best levels in the game are here, some of the hardest too. In retrospect, I'm glad they shoved all the shit tracks into hub 3 because now we get a very memorable final area. First is Engine Labs. The first impression isn't the best, honestly. The industrial complex theme should make for a drab looking claustrophobic track with tight corners and many annoying stage hazards. And that's what it feels like at first. This is, however, probably one of the most fun stages to go through when you start getting a little better at the game. The more you play it, the better it gets. We'll revisit this track later and then I'll go a bit more in depth. For now, I'll just say first impressions really betray this one. For Cortex Castle though, what you see is what you get. A huge, complex and kind of frustrating track that is very memorable, but honestly my least favorite in the last hub world. Too many tight corners and too many pits to fall into. Definitely not a dingle dial friendly stage, but it looks really cool and has good music. That being said, I don't really buy the idea that this is actually Cortex Castle from Crash 1. Yes, this is absolutely irrelevant and it's very unlikely that anyone but me gives a shit, but this is just a cartoon medieval castle. It feels more like the medieval Crash 3 theme than Cortex's base of operations. In Crash 1, it felt like Cortex found this abandoned old castle and converted it into his hideout, filling it with his science shit and adding a lot of mechanical increments to it. It felt mysterious and kind of wrong, like he had desecrated the place. It had a very specific atmosphere. Yeah, I'm a huge Crash 1 fanboy, sue me. The track in CTR doesn't really feel Cortex themed, it just feels castle themed. The only thing Cortex about it is his face plastered all over the stained glass windows. Alright, my totally neurotypical rant is over, Cortex Castle is okay. Alright, this is the best track in the game. Hot Air Skyway. Listen to this music. Man, I've always loved this place. No hazards, no bullshit, just a huge snake-like track full of twists, turns and jumps. The setting is awesome, some fabric suspended way above ground by a fleet of airships. It's not an easy track to keep slide boosts going, but managing to do so is very rewarding. There are a few tight turns, but not too many. It just feels great to drive here. To me, it always felt like this was CTR's Rainbow Road. Great track. I just have no idea how to make this jump, I fail half the time. And now, all that's left is the final track, Oxide Station. It is also very good. It's like a more gimmicky version of Hot Air Skyway, and I don't mean that in a negative way. It just has more stuff. It's long and complex, but not annoying. This is the track for the final boss, so I'll go more in depth when we get there. And with that, we should have all 16 trophies. All that's left to do before we can go challenge Oxide is to beat the 4th hub boss, Pinstripe.
What, you call that racing? Forget about it. If you's gonna face Oxide, you's gonna have to get past me first.
Mamma mia!
Another boss that hadn't shown up since Crash 1. This game has a lot of fan service if you couldn't tell at this point. His track is Hot Air Skyway, so it has to be good. He shits out rolling bombs, which makes him more annoying than any of the previous bosses. But the fact still remains that once we pass him, the race is basically over. He doesn't have access to items in boxes, so no rockets or masks or lightning balls to fuck us over once we take the lead. But still, it's Hot Air Skyway. I'll take an excuse to do 3 more laps here. We could go challenge Oxide now, but this is a Crash game by Naughty Dog, meaning even if we did, we'd get the crap ending where nothing gets resolved until to go collect all the junk we missed afterwards. So let's skip ahead to the part where we go do all that. We need to collect all 18 relics to unlock the real ending to the game. Relic challenges in this game work as a pretty cool translation of the time trials in Crash Warped. For each stage we have to beat a set time as you would expect, but dotted around the track are multiple time boxes that'll pause the timer for 1 to 3 seconds, meaning these are not only about going as fast as possible, but also optimizing the path through the track so as to grab as many boxes as we can. Those of you who passed first grade math might have noticed that the number of relics is higher than the number of trophies. That is because there are 2 extra unlockable tracks in Oxide's hub area. To unlock both of them, we'll need to collect another Crash MacGuffin. gems. And to get gems we need to beat cups. To unlock those cups we need CTR tokens, which we can also get from stage revisits. Look for the 3 letters C, T, and R around the track. Collect them and win the race. What's cool about these challenges is that they force us to fully explore the tracks, learn about shortcuts inside areas, and interact with more advanced mechanics. The problem is, I feel like I might be too shit to do all of this properly at this point, so I invited a friend over. You might remember him from my Crash Bash video. He's the one that didn't suck. He's a master at this game and was willing to teach me a few tricks. It's training montage time. Well, this should do it. CTR's depth really comes primarily from the slide boost mechanic, and man, it's really deep, more than I thought at first. I've been trying to do this from the start, but I didn't get it at all beyond press L1 when bar red. First of all, as much as just touching a wall will completely kill any boost you may have going. Grinding against a wall is a terrible idea and you might as well just brake, turn around and go back to holding X like a baby. Being able to properly control the cart while sliding is the single biggest skill necessary to master CTR. Second, not all red bars are created equal. My assumption in the beginning was that as long as I could hit L1 while the bar was red, it didn't matter. Turns out the fuller the bar, the bigger the boost. Also, the third boost counts for more than the first two. There are different levels of boosts identifiable by the type of flame that shoots out of the exhaust. More fire equals gooder boosts. Finally, boosts are storable. Sort of. The more boosts we can stack on top of each other by performing them before the previous one runs out, the more of a reserve will build up, and we'll then be able to keep top speed even without performing more boosts for a little bit. U-turns are a way to deal with tight corners. I'm still not great at them, but basically we jump, break in the air and press down together with another direction on the D-pad. If done correctly, it's possible to turn at any corner without losing speed. And finally, hopping helps conserve speed downhill as well as in terrain that slows us down. Of course, just knowing the theory is worthless if we can't drive for shit. We have to be able to maintain slide boosts going while not running off track or into walls. Slide boosting is so powerful that beyond the initial acceleration at the beginning of a race, it is possible to finish races without even holding the X button. And that was something my friend made me do for practice. Remember Coco Park? The most basic ass stage for babies? Yeah, it's perfect for this. I eventually got the hang of it, but take a look at how much further ahead my friend was by the end of one full race. The skill ceiling in this game is ridiculous. We should be better equipped now to get all the relics and gems and whatever the fuck. The times are, honestly, a lot more lax than I expected. Maybe I did get significantly better, but I really didn't have much trouble at all. As with Warped, relics come in Sapphire, Gold, and Platinum. Sapphire being the easiest and Platinum the hardest. It doesn't really matter which ones we get as far as completion percentage goes. Anything beyond Sapphire is for bragging rights only. Even then I got mostly golds and even a few platinums just going through the tracks normally, trying to grab crates that weren't too far from my path. An interesting mechanic if you're interested in going for platinums is that breaking every crate grants a bonus minus 10 seconds at the end. A pretty cool incentive to try to get a perfect run. Again, these challenges help a lot with familiarizing the player with the tracks. I mentioned Engine Labs really grew on me when going for the relic and the CTR token. That track is actually a lot better designed than I expected. Everything feels like it was placed with the cart movement in mind. It just works. Even the large barrels that serve as the main stage hazard can be avoided while maintaining slides with good pathing. The stage flows amazingly when you get better at controlling your drifts. A track that's slightly frustrating as a beginner quickly turns into one of the most fun in the game as soon as you start to understand the mechanics better. And this is true for most tracks I previously complained about, to varying degrees. This is an instance of a game that really benefits from making the player replay stages. Papu Pyramid also gets a lot more fun when you know what you're doing. It has a couple really cool shortcuts that require a good amount of speed to use properly, but once you get the hang of it they feel awesome to use. A handful of CTR tokens are locked behind special stages where instead of racing we have to navigate an open arena collecting crystals. The stages are repurposed from the multiplayer battle mode where players drive around throwing shit at each other. These are usually the worst part of the game. They're just boring. All we have to do is take laps around the stage and hope not to drive straight through the deceptively small hitboxes of the crystals. It's all about optimizing the route, and the timer feels just strict enough to cause a couple of failures if you don't know what you're doing. I'm sorry, I just think it's pointless. Maybe I'm shit, but I really don't care to get better at this. There are 4 CTR tokens of each color. Grabbing all 4 unlocks a cup. Winning each cup rewards us with a gem as previously mentioned. The way they work is we go through 4 consecutive races and get points depending on the position we finish at. First place gives us 9 points, second 6, and so forth. If we have the most points at the end of the 4th race, we win. This effectively means that we don't even have to win every race. In fact, getting first place in 3 races makes it so that we win, even if we finish last in the final one. One of the cups works a bit differently. Instead of the normal assortment of CPU racers, we compete against all boss racers instead. They don't get their item spam abilities here, so it ends up being even easier, as we have fewer enemies to throw missiles at us. Beyond the gems, beating the cups unlocks those boss characters in multiplayer, and also Fake Crash, who, not gonna lie, is really funny. Man, I really miss unlockable characters in video games that weren't paid DLC. Oh yeah, multiplayer. It's here. I'm far too antisocial for this, but it's couch multiplayer. Invite up to 4 friends if you have this weird boomerang thing for your PS1, and enjoy the 16 pixels of your tiny CRT TV that'll be allocated to you in split screen mode. You can race in any of the tracks from adventure mode. It's great fun if you have a magnifying glass. Anyway, 2 tracks remain now that we have all the gems. Slide Coliseum and Turbo Track. They only have time trial challenges, so no actual races here. And they're both surprisingly easy. I got platinums in both of them while playing like shit and not even trying. Still, I do think they're fun. And with that, we're challenged once again to race Nitro's Oxide.
So, you're back, and you've gathered all my time relics. I'm impressed. Well, it's about time I taught you a real lesson in speed. This race is for keeps.
Okay. Oxide starts the race by speeding off before the green light, so he gets a head start. He uses all items from the other boss fights and he uses them a lot. Look at this shit. Even then the race is deceptively easy. Mostly because Oxide Station, unintuitively, is not a hard track. It's a very fun track. The way everything is spaced out makes it very easy to maintain speed. It has this brief section where gravity is reduced and the map sort of looks like a wheelie. I'll bet there are some shortcuts people who are better than me using that tangled mess in the middle. I say it's easy to maintain speed in Oxide Station, but that only applies when the track isn't flooded with junk everywhere. So repeat after me now, kids. Once we overtake him, the race is basically over. To Oxide's credit, overtaking him is considerably harder. Nothing a missile can't solve though. It's actually really slow once we do. The race is 100% about dodging his item spam. And with that, the game is over.
You beat me once again! Now I have to go back to the planet Gasmoxia a complete loser! I must be getting slow in my old age. That's it! I'm finished racing in these mushy backward worlds! Keep your miserable planet! I'm out of here for good!
Yeah, the ending itself is not as amusing as the one from Warped, but our real reward is in the credits. In another callback to Crash 1 by 100%ing the game, we got a bunch of tongue-in-cheek descriptions of what each character went on to do after the game. In Crash 1 a few of them turned out to be canon, and by a few of them I mean Ripperoos. For CTR I like to think these endings are canon to the original Crash timeline. This is Naughty Dog's final Crash game, and so I think it's appropriate. I don't mean to shit on post Naughty Dog Dog Crash, but they feel so disconnected from the PS1 games they might as well be an entirely different continuity. Well, it doesn't matter, I love this game, man, and seeing these credits being well aware of the context surrounding it is really something. If I weren't a manly man who never cries because that's for women, I'd say it made me emotional. Oh shit, better barred up. After the main cast, the names of the 4 trophy girls are revealed, which I think is pretty cool too. And then we get Naughty Dog's Final Goodbye, a scrapbook, full of concept art for all games, Comic Sans, promotional material, and photos of the developers having fun. Fuck you, I'm not crying, you're crying. For a period in my childhood, Crash Bandicoot meant the world to me, and here I can feel how much it meant to the people who developed it too. I love this game. It's fun, engaging, and addictive, but more importantly, it was made with love. It closes the book on the most important era of a game and icon, and through ups and downs I would find it hard to argue Crash has ever again reached the heights of his PS1 games. Naughty Dog could have done more of the same to send off the first real hit franchise, or they could have gone all out and made an epic to really drive home the point of an emotional goodbye. But instead, they chose to see Crash off with a smile, a fun, beautiful, unforgettable game, just as it always had been, just as it was always meant to be. Hey, thanks for watching, really. I've tried a few new things with this video, hopefully you liked it. If you're new, consider subscribing. If you're still in the mood for more YouTube, maybe watch some more of my stuff. Okay, that's it.